Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to call to order the April 15th regularly scheduled meeting of the Town Council. Can I have a roll, please?
Councilmember Fredericks is absent. Councilmember Ryan.
Here.
Councilmember Thier.
Yeah.
Vice Mayor Nick Farr is absent, and Mayor Wellner.
Here. Oh, I hear him now.
Vice Mayor Nick Farr is entering the room.
Entered with a bang. It's fantastic. All right. Well, you didn't miss anything yet, so that's good. We're going to start with public comments on items not on the agenda. If anyone has a comment they'd like to make, either in the room or online about something that is not on tonight's agenda, please let us know. All right, thank you. You have 3 minutes. Please introduce yourself. Maybe bring the mic a little closer, or it's not on. Okay.
Appreciate it. Good evening, Councilman. I'm Jane Gould. I live in Lyford Cove area. And for the past few years, I've had the privilege of being on the Commission on Aging. So I'm just going to update you a little bit in my 3 minutes on the Commission on Aging and what we've been doing this year. It's a vital position because 30% of Marin's population is aged 60 and over, and it's estimated to grow to 40% in 10 years. So first, the big picture. What the Commission has been doing this past year is sort of threefold. We've been trying to do a deep dive on the issues of senior housing and the need, and we've been trying to do a deep dive on the issue of social isolation because we've noted a lot of changes since COVID. We don't quite know what's going on, but I'll get to that at a local level. We've been pushing Vivalon and others to get out with that resource guide I promised you last time. There are 15,000 copies that are about going to print. And we'll be helping the AAA, the agency that we watchdog, to go into their 4-year analysis of the needs and also to do a master plan for Marin. Closer to home, many of you will remember Ellie Block. So we'll be appointing 2 new people. One of them is from Mill Valley to the senior legislature. And even closer to home at the Hillarita, there's a new vendor and there are new guidelines for what is a Friday congregate meal for older people. So the Hillarita is likely to not be the site in the future. It was very sparsely attended, and they'll be looking at other locations in Southern Marin. So I just want to, in my 3 minutes, really drill down a little bit on the social isolation issue because we've been working, myself, with Belvedere, people from Belvedere, from Mill Valley and Sausalito, to understand how seniors get social isolated, and it's largely an issue of transportation. But there are other factors too, and I hope to come back to you with some ideas. In the short term, if you know anyone, if you have a neighbor, a friend who is not able to get down the hill to the senior fair tomorrow, offer to give them a ride. Just reach out and give them a hand, because I think that's what we all need to do. So I'll close with the happy news about the senior fair. You've all heard about it, seen about it, and there's been great publicity. And we're very thankful to the ranch and to the library for having wonderful activities for seniors. And as Jessica Hotcha said, we won't have bouncy homes and we won't have face painting, but we are going to have a lot of other activities that will resonate with the senior population. So there's lunch too. I hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Jane, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Do you mind giving out the details to everyone for the senior fair?
Yeah, the senior fair is Friday at the Beltib Library. It's from 10 to 2, and there are organized activities. The library has a pretty good schedule online of the flow of the day. We expect about 200 people based on what we did 2 years ago, and about 17, 18 different vendors will be there. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Anyone else? Is there anyone online?
Seeing none.
No? Did you have a comment on something not on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay, you have 3 minutes. Please introduce yourself and let us know what's on your mind.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for all the hard work for our town. My name is Jamile. I'm resident of Tiburon since 2010. And my kids grow up here and I've been tenant, like not the owner. So I'm dealing with some smoking issues in my buildings and it's under the HOA. And one of my clients, he referred me to this place because I wrote so many letters to HOA and they said they can't do anything about it. And it takes time. Since October 2025, I'm dealing with this. So my job is very physical. And then I believe that this tenant, I'm not bothering them, but they don't know that it bothers me. So I talked to management. The management have to send the letter to their management, to HOA, and they just hold on to, I don't understand why they don't send a letter to these people. And it's not just one building, a lot of building I talk to people, they have the same situation. But my request is if you guys can urgently do, because this is my situation. One big air purifier, I use mask. I wake up like every 1 hour or so. I have to get out to breathe. And then I did catheterize my nose because I get nosebleed if I inhale like after more than 2-3 hours like a day. So this is my life since October 2025. These people came in and then HOA, they cannot do anything. And that's why I was wondering if you guys can help me to solve this situation because I have to sleep. And
Yeah, so thank you. So we don't have an ability to kind of talk back and forth during this time, but if you could maybe talk to Sherry afterwards, she's a staff person who can help. I think this sounds like potentially a code enforcement issue. Yeah, so
yeah,
she
I'm
might
so
be.
sorry. I had no idea how important, what should I do?
No, it's
So-
perfectly fine. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Any further comments? Okay, I think we already determined there was no one online, so we can close the public hearing and move to our first item, which is interviews for post for Parks, Open Space and Trails Commission. Can I have a staff report, please?
Yes, council is considering later in this meeting an appointment, two appointments actually, to two existing vacancies on the post commission. You have already interviewed one applicant at our last meeting in March, and tonight you'll be interviewing 4 new applicants for the same 2 seats.
Okay, great.
Yep.
All right, so our first applicant is Seth Burstein. Why don't you come up? I'd like to say just a few quick words before we start the interview, and this applies to all of our interviewees who are here. Um, so we love interviewing people for commissions. We also hate it because we have too many great public service minded folks and too few positions. So I'd like to start this by thanking all of you who are applying and letting you know that we're going to make some decisions likely after we do the interviews. If you're selected, fantastic, thank you. If you're not selected, please don't take it personally. We really, we're very lucky here. We have, like I said, very public-minded residents, and they're often extremely skilled as well and bring all kinds of skills and experience to the commissions that they're applying for. Post has been really important the last couple of years in working on the Parks Master Plan and all kinds of issues that matter to the town. So we take this process very seriously. And what we'll do is for each of you, we'll give you an opportunity to introduce yourself. We've seen your materials and appreciate you submitting the application materials. On top of that, we'd love to just hear from you about where your interest comes from and what you bring to the role and what you might want to do if you were on post. And then we'll likely have a few questions for each of you as well. So Seth, why don't you go ahead? Thank you. Please introduce yourself. Let us know why you're interested and what you would do if you were on post.
Sure. Oh, sorry, that's a little loud. I'm Seth Burstein. I've been a resident of Tiburon since 2013. The interest in Post came actually when talking to Mike Ghaffari, who's one of the exiting members of Post. I mentioned that I wanted to be more, do more volunteering, and Mike is somebody that I really respect. I know he's very thoughtful in what he does, and he says that's great because there's a position available on Post. And I have lived here for many years. I have not served the town yet, and it's something that I'm interested in doing. The Post position is particularly interesting to me because I'm one of the founding members of the Trail Runners of Tiburon. We go running every Wednesday on Ring Mountain. I could often be seen on the bike path, walking, running, riding my bike. My kids use the park system regularly growing up. It was a weekly event, so it's something I'm very interested in. I actually work in the wildfire industry now. I've started my career in insurance, and now I work for a company that provides products and services to the insurance industry related to wildfire. So I'm a wildfire expert, and I think that's something that's very relevant for open spaces. One of my clients was in town just the other week. They had an offsite in Tiburon, which I found interesting. They're all staying at the lodge, and so I took them all to the hippie tree, and then we did the Ridge Trail. So it's something that's very, very close to me, and something that I'd love to be involved in and kind of shape the future.
Great, thank you so much. Do we have questions for Seth? Go ahead.
So what are a few things that you'd like to do as a post commissioner?
You know, I knew that may be one of the questions, and I'm going to be completely honest. What I'm going to do to start is I'm going to listen and learn from the other members of the committee and speak with the many people that I know in the town and see what they are most interested in. I don't have any grand plans to begin with. I think it would be maybe short-sighted if I did. But I'm happy to be very well connected. My wife is actually from Tiburon. She has a very large family that is local. So we have 3 kids in the school system, and I have a very wide network. So that's my plan, is to really listen and learn before really trying to make any major changes.
I've got a question. So as you know, over the last couple of years, has been a big process for trying to come up with a master plan for our parks and figure out what to do with both, the big bay-facing parks, like Cagney Green and Blackie's, as well as our neighborhood parks. Have you been able to follow that process, and do you have any thoughts about how that went or what you'd like to see happen in that process?
I followed it, a little bit. I know what's happening over by Cagney Green, the plans to build the park and the sewage treatment. I know there was conversations about what to do. The swimming pool was one of the options, and I think moving forward with the plan for volleyball courts and basketball and other things. Not as familiar with some of the other areas.
Okay. Jack, any questions?
Yeah, thank you for coming out and volunteering for this process, as well as the responsibility of being on post. I had a couple questions. The first one is, would love your thoughts on kind of like where we are and sort of in the process and general thoughts, if you've been following the master plan and some of the proposals that have come forward. Just sort of general thoughts about the process.
Can you be a little more
Sure.
specific?
Like, have you been following it for a long time? What are your thoughts about, is it taking a long time? Are there things that we're missing within the process? Do you have any general sort of feedback on it?
I haven't been following it for a long time, to be honest. Really, it was at Mike's behest that I kind of gained interest in joining. So do I think it's taking too long? I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say it's taking too long. I think it's taking the time that it's needed to make a thoughtful decision. It's a large undertaking. Yeah, so those are my thoughts.
And then the other question is, can you give us an example about something that where you've had one opinion, and then by either listening to sort of the opinions of others, or if there were other things that caused you to change your mind about something? Because I think that's something that I think a lot of us have experienced, is you may go into something with one set of opinions, and by listening to the community or listening to experts or listening to, in a lot of cases, town staff, you start to either get a different opinion, or you may, find validation. There are other things but I'd love to hear about maybe a time where you've come in with one opinion, heard something, and then, come out with a completely different opinion.
That is a great question, and wish I weren't the first one interviewing.
All right, everyone else can think about it.
That's a great question.
And we don't mean to put you on the spot.
No, I mean, I wish I had a good example, but I'll answer with kind of a general. I mean, so I'm an actuary by training. I'm an MBA. I'm an entrepreneur. Doing cost benefit analysis is what I do every day. I mean, every decision is listening, looking at what's the risk, what's the reward, what's the cost, what's the benefit. And I'm constantly, I think one of my greatest strengths is the ability to kind of quantify sometimes intangibles. I think building models and really laying it out, and oftentimes there are so many variables it's overwhelming, but when you start putting it into a model, drawing it out, you're really able to weigh the costs and benefits. So listening to different opinions and getting different opinions allows you to tip the scales potentially on what the outcomes are.
Yeah, I think you handled that question really well. Thank you. I know it was a curveball, but everyone's getting it. So
yeah, all right. Well, thank you.
Okay, just to keep in mind, we have 4. So
I have one final question. So a while back, the town got rid of all herbicides and pesticides in our parks and playgrounds. What is your position on that?
I don't know. I haven't looked at the data closely. I think on a high level, it sounds positive, certainly. I assume there was a good reason for that. I like to look at data. I'm an actuary by training, so I assume that the herbicides and pesticides they were using were harmful, and I think therefore a wise decision.
great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next, I think we're going to be talking with Jonathan Kahn. Welcome, Jonathan. I think you heard my spiel, so why don't you go ahead and
You want me to go through the questions from back to front or front to back? Or I'm Jonathan Kahn. I grew up in Tiburon. The first fish I ever caught was off of Elephant Rock, pretty small. After high school, moved away, college, medical school, had an active surgical practice in the East Bay. And then in 2017, we moved back to Tiburon. I'm pretty much just doing medical work as a volunteer, and also volunteering in the community, and otherwise making a nuisance of myself around the house. But one of the things, my families have always been aware of is just how beautiful the Tiburon Peninsula is, and all the recreational opportunities that we've really enjoyed. And I really like to share that joy with residents and the visitors that come here. Nothing makes me happier than seeing the visitors going up and down our walkways in front of the water and taking their photos and selfies. And, it's really exciting for them. So I wanted to give back. And when I saw there were some openings here, I thought I had something to offer the town in that regards. Kind of go over some of those things that you have been asking about. I have been following the master plan. I filled out the surveys. I went to some meetings, and the town has invested thousands of dollars, hundreds of hours. I've read it back to front. I've got a pretty good idea what's going on. And I also read the plans for the little mini parks, Belveron and Cypress Hollow, and also, the ideas, bringing forward for the lineal park, where there's, we call them sanitary ponds or sewage ponds. I don't know.
We call
It sounds better than the other.
Yeah. Gone.
They're gone. Yeah, yeah.
They've been
And
eliminated.
also the Bel Air area, which, I've looked at that. I can see that you've already voted to get some plans together. And I feel like I could really help push this forward and make this a reality, just because of my experience since 2017, doing a number of things in the community, getting projects started and finished. And as we all know, Southern Marin is not that easy a place to get things done. So I do have some proven, expertise in that area. The other things people mention, obviously, is the old rail trail. People are frightened because of the difference in speed and mass. And, I have some ideas and people have ideas. And I think it's time to do something to slow people down before there really is a tragic accident. One of the other things people have mentioned, if you look at the surveys, interestingly, number one was water access. And this town, as you know, has an incredible maritime history, and people would really like to have some sort of access to the water. And there's a number of sites out there. I've looked at them. I kind of thought it through. One thing that struck me is the area by Beach Road in the end of Main Street Arc Row. That seawall is slated for removal and replacement. And, I'm thinking, is it possible to make some sort of steps or dock or access area for kayaks, paddleboards there? That would be fantastic, because that's one of the most protected areas of the bay right in there. Let's see. There was another question about something that needed to be done, and I changed my mind. Was that?
Yeah, if you've changed your mind about it.
I think where you went into one situation with a pretty strong opinion, and by either listening to others' opinions or by discovering some new information, you were swayed and changed your mind about something.
Yeah, haven't really prepared that, but it was interestingly, for a couple of years I was the HOA president over at Shelter Bay in Mill Valley, and I didn't live there. It's kind of interesting. I had purchased a condo there for my brother who's handicapped and he has cerebral palsy, and I wanted him to have a nice place to live. And I decided to go to some of their meetings. They were going to have an assessment. So, you go to the meetings and then you ask questions, and next thing you know it, you're on the board. Next thing you know it, you're president.
That's how it happens.
Like, how did that happen? And it's an interesting area because it's half on the water, half on the ground, and there's a lot of stuff going on there. They have a marina, they have a pool, tennis court, all this stuff. So a lot of infrastructure need to be worked on. And I really wanted to concentrate on the sewer system because we, had some studies that said we really need to, take our reserves and spend on that. And I was all gung-ho and getting people set up to replace it. And then someone said, hey, there's a way we could pressure test it and use a scope and this and that. And we'd rather spend that money doing something else because there's obviously always something to do. So, even though I really invested in one that's, getting the RFPs for sewers and crawling around under the buildings and looking at everything, I scaled it back. I said, okay, we probably have a few more years here. Let's go into something else. So I know it's not a very sexy story talking about, looking at sewers, but we got more information and pivoted and, decided we're going to do some other work instead.
Great. Well, thank you for covering the questions that we were going to ask. Is there any additional questions that we have? Jack?
The pesticides?
Yeah.
But first, I'd like to know, the beach road area for the kayak launch, part of it potentially is in Belvedere.
Correct.
What is your strategy and approach for getting Belvedere on board? Because they have been stubborn.
Well,
You hear that, Belvedere?
people in Belvedere like the water too. And not everyone in Belvedere belongs to the
How do you tell that to the city council in Belvedere?
Yeah, and not everybody belongs to the San Francisco Yacht Club either. Not everyone. I do know a number of residents in Belvedere, long-term residents and some newer residents. And I would definitely, want to walk the site, talk to them as much as possible, try to explain they're investing so much in getting a new seawall. Let's open it up. Make it a little more attractive for everybody. And, Belvedere residents could use it, Tiburon and visitors. So, I do have a reputation of being a little annoying and relentless sometimes, but I do get things done. Interesting you mentioned the pesticides. I was recently at a large event Saturday night at the Corinthian Yacht Club, and it was for Parkinson's disease. And we had a number of professors from UC San Francisco that were speaking. It was a big fundraiser. It was very successful. And the current thinking is a large percentage of Parkinson's may be due to exposure of chemicals in the environment, including things, they're used as pesticides. It's hard to do studies on that. You're not going to give people, but I think it's really important that this community has decided that they're trying to really scale back on that. So I applaud the community for doing that.
We actually banned it, so.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
No. Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Okay, so next up, hold on. We have Mike Shepard. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Mike Shepard. I've lived in Tiburon for almost 30 years now. The last half of which right by the old rail trail near south of Knoll Park. I've had the whole Tiburon experience, the public school, the Little League coaching, all that sort of stuff. And I spend a lot of hours every week in the park. Every day I'm in the park, Tiburon, the lineal park. A lot of times I'm walking the world's most spoiled dog. He's probably tied with a number of other people in town for that title. I ride my bike to and from the ferry. So I'm seeing the whole gamut of that park. I do not come with any agenda to serve on the post commission other than a commitment to listen, to hopefully ask the right questions. And then obviously it's the town council that makes the important decisions, and just to make the best recommendation possible for your consideration. You may have been tired of hearing from me already, because I've been in attendance at a whole lot of the meetings about the parks. When Councilmember Ryan organized a walk through the park, I was there. I came to a lot of these meetings and voiced my opinions. Like I say, I fear you're probably tired of hearing from me about that. I do think there are, and obviously the master plan addresses and resolves a whole lot of the important questions. The implementation obviously is still to come and really important. And one of the issues I think is important and challenging and not entirely in the town's control. I think somebody else just mentioned it. It's balancing all of the electric mobility devices that are now on the path, many at high speeds, and balancing the mobility benefits of that against the safety risks with the very diverse group of people who are using the path. Some old, some really young, some learning to ride their bikes. It's just, I think it's a very challenging issue that needs a lot of attention. Let's see, there were some other questions. Have I ever changed my mind about anything? I think the people who work with me are constantly telling me I'm wrong, and I do agree with them. I do agree with them sometimes and change my mind. To make a real world example, I've paid close attention, in addition to the parks, to the traffic issues, because anybody who lives in Tiburon, that's really the biggest issue we have, I think. And I thought I had a nice idea, which I presented at one of these meetings. But then I saw just an elegantly simple idea of adding a lane outbound prior to the Trestle Glen intersection. I think that's an cost effective and like a really great idea that I wish I had come up with. And so there's an example of a town related thing where somebody had a much better idea than I did. And I endorse that one. I think that's great, for whatever my poor opinion about that is worth.
Great. Question?
So first of all, I appreciate all your involvement and participation in the Parks Master Plan thing. To the extent that sort of that pig is sort of through the python, any thoughts on what you would like the commission to tackle next? Or
I think I know that there are two, I guess, related topics to the whole speed on the path. One is just the speed on the path, and I think there's a subcommittee of posts that's looking at that. And then there are some design issues in terms of are we going to split the path? Are we going to have two paths and things like that? I think those are really important issues. And as somebody who lives near there, is there every day watching this potential accident happening and riding my bike on it, I have a lot of thoughts about it. I don't have the answer because I think it requires a lot of listening and a lot of questions, and there are some overarching legal sort of things, how much can the town regulate and how much enforcement could actually realistically happen. Be interesting to hear what the police department's input on things like that are. So I don't have the answers. I just know a lot of the questions, and I think that's a really important issue.
Other questions?
Yeah, if you could just talk about the pesticides. Thank you.
So similar to the actuary, as a lawyer, I'm used to asking questions, getting the data, and then forming a solution. I did not watch the town come to that determination. I would just say, like, we don't use any pesticides at our house. We find other ways. We do have pest issues, but we try to find other ways to deal with them. And if you can find other ways to deal with them, that seems to me to be a preferable solution, but you know, the devil's in the data and the details.
Great. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
And our final candidate of the evening is Nicole Voss. Hi, Nicole. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Voss. I'm a Tiburon resident, a parent of 2 sons, and I have a Labradoodle who's very energetic. I've been active at these meetings with town council and on the going to the post meetings since August 2024. I have a nearly 15-year career in finance and procurement, understanding how we get things from an idea to realization, including budgeting. I also have an MBA in finance, and I'm a mariner in the sense that I race sailboats for fun, and I'm a member of 3 yacht clubs around the Bay Area. I spend my days managing these multi-million-dollar deals, and I'm not overwhelmed by the $750,000 we've already spent on the park designs and the $6.1 million that we are expected to spend in the Parks Master Plan. That said, I'm intimately aware of how we've done the Parks Master Plan. I've been part of the process. I've gone through focus groups. We've gone through many different iterations, gone through post, and I understand the process. Now I want to be part of the solution. So I've planned to be in Tiburon for over 20 years. That's our goal going forwards. We're here. We have a great interest rate. We're here for a while. I'm a power user of the parks with both my dog and my kids. Want to see it all come together, be part of that. I can jump in and contribute immediately. This is something that we hear listening to the community. I know where we stand in terms of a number of different issues. And that's where I excel in listening to different stakeholders, understanding their pain points, where they're coming from, and being able to host that collaboration to work towards that common goal. I also want to teach my kids about sustainable recreation. I like that we talked about the pesticides. My kids are now moving only to organic because there are a number of different studies that show how it is beneficial to our health long term. And we can do this now. The master plan has been, again, a rigorous process. It's taken a number of iterations, and we're here now. So we're already looking at, I'm also a member of Parents for Parks and Rec, but not, and then we're already looking for ways to fund this. How are we going to fundraise the parks? Similar to Jonathan Kahn, also very interested in water access. How do we get people on the water? I think I've said this from day one. We live on a peninsula. How do we get people out there? Everyone loves looking at the water. How do we get people on a kayak? How do we get people on a paddleboard? It's good recreation, exercise, and just the beauty. So I think this is the heart of Tiburon, being part of Post, understanding and participating in the process. It's the community of Tiburon that I want to continue to keep very strong, hearing people from all angles, and then really want to link these park improvements to safer biking and walking paths. How do we go through our day, interact with our fellow neighbors, and be able to share a friendly smile? I'm ready to bridge the gap between residents' expectations and the town's budget, and want to get these projects off the ground. So thank you for your consideration and time for my application to Post. Thank you. Any questions?
Isaac?
Yes. Can you tell us about a time where you came into a situation with an opinion, but either through listening or, new information that you learned where you were swayed or changed your mind on that topic?
Absolutely. This is something I do in my daily life, as well, not only negotiating with kids, but also with my professional career. And so this is something where maybe new information comes to light, and it's all about data. How do we understand, what can we get to an objective position on something to be able to realign on what's most important? Again, I think subjectivity is also quite important, and the qualitative aspect is certainly important. The example that I can share is that we use a scorecard in professional work, is how do we find who are the decision makers? How do we get them involved at the earliest stage so everyone feels like they're participating in the process? as opposed to waiting to the last minute and springing a decision. So bringing them along the journey gets people more involved and in the actual outcome, and they're more supportive of the outcome.
I've got a question. One of the things that's been, I think, hardest about the master plan process and planning for parks is that there is, while there are, I think at one point we had, a chart with, 15 to 20 different things that people wanted to put in the park. And of course, decisions had to be made between them. But also, one of the things that had to be weighed was not doing things. So in other words, open space or leaving parts of it alone, as opposed to, I think the first plan we got from the consultants basically balkanized the entire park and put something for everyone everywhere. How in making decisions about what you would recommend to do with parks, how do you incorporate that piece of not building into your thinking with regard to sections of the park? Is open space a value for you above and beyond, amenities, or is it your view that we should, be building out parks as much as possible?
I think there's a healthy balance. I think it's important to maintain that open space area. It's beauty. It's where people can feel more tranquil. They can sit down, eat a picnic. I think we also enjoy that. Space for dogs, space for just meandering. There's room for that. I think it is important to have amenities to bring another part of the demographic for a particular reason, whether it is beach volleyball or basketball or the bocce ball or the wall ball court. It's important that we have room for both. It's important to prioritize. It's also important to understand from a construction point of view what makes sense to build together. We don't want to rip up grass that potentially could have been done together as a bundled project. So having the opportunity to look at it as a whole, and I think that's been the benefit of the master plan, is like, let's look at it holistically, see what makes sense to package together, and then go through rollout and iterate.
Other questions?
Just out of curiosity, is there anything you think that the Parks Master Plan suggests for downtown that we haven't talked about? Because everything seems to have been concentrated like on that part of town.
Yes, I do think that Tether Park is a little bit left out in the master plan. And then also I've seen in the ARC recently with the art installation with the butterflies and the birds over by Cafe Acri. I think that could also be another little potential play area or something, but I know there's a little bit of additional community building required from the Shoreline Park team. Cool.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Like I said, we have great candidates, so we're going to have to make decisions. All right. Next is we move to the consent calendar. Is there any item on the consent calendar that any member of the council would like to pull for discussion? Is there anyone in the public who would like to pull any item on the consent calendar for discussion?
Seeing none online.
Okay. In that case, I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
I'll second.
May I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Fredericks is absent. Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Thier. Vice Mayor Nick Farr.
Yes.
And Mayor Wellner.
Yes. Great. So now we move to action items. First item, appropriately, is appointments to town boards and commissions. I guess a brief staff report to explain what we're doing.
Yes, you're appointing you've interviewed 5 candidates in total. I want to just point that out as well. You also interviewed a candidate at our last meeting.
All right, Andrew Soares.
Yes, his application is in your packet. So you've got 5 applicants for 2 seats, and the council doesn't have to appoint to both tonight. But if you do, I would ask the council to specify which seat you're appointing to. We As you know, we have two vacancies. One is due to an early resignation, and one is due to a member that didn't renew their term. So we have one term that's almost a full 4-year term, and then one is just under 2 years. And the implication of that is that individual will be eligible for automatic reappointment when their term is up. So I would just ask the council to specify which seat you're appointing to.
Okay, are there any questions for staff about the report? Okay, so we'll move to you have a question for staff?
Yeah, so you said one of the terms was 4 years and one is 2 years.
One, it technically just under 4 years. The term expired on February 28th of this year. And then the other term expires in, hang on, I can tell you. So one term expires on 2/28/2030 and one term expires on 2/28/2028. So
Is it almost 2030? How did that happen?
4 years away.
Oh my God. Okay.
Okay, so one's a new term and one's a used term.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So before we have a discussion amongst the council, are there any public comments on this item? Seeing none here, are there any online?
Seeing none online.
Okay. So let's discuss it as a council. I'd like to make a suggestion that we don't race to a motion, but actually let everyone kind of just discuss what they're thinking and then have a motion afterwards. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to follow that. So I wanted to say one thing, that I really appreciate everyone coming, and we always have what we call the embarrassment of riches. But I do want to move to appoint Nicole Voss to the 4-year term and Jonathan Kahn to the 2-year term. And I'd really like to discuss that a little bit with everyone. And if people have a different idea, that's fine. I think that the parks in the future, our master plan has been such a huge part of the work that we'll be doing for the next 4 years. I think it's really important to have people that have been really working and at all of the meetings. I also think that it's always good to have someone who is more of a mediator type on every commission. And anybody who an HOA would agree to appoint who is not living there is somebody that can definitely work with everybody and a lot of different opinions and ideas. And I think what we've seen through the master plan process, and I know my time on post, what I saw was that people have very different ideas. They're very invested in those ideas. And the true beauty of a commission is bringing everyone together and honoring all of our community members' views and finding a way to kind of keep everybody happy and invested in a shared vision of the future of the parks.
Other comments?
So I'm just going to make comments and not second the motion, if that's okay. Because one of the things I will say that is good about quick motions is then the rest of us don't have to agonize over who to pick because someone has already done the dirty work for us. So to that extent, I appreciate it, but I agree in this case, it's discussion is worthy. This is very, very difficult. And I appreciate Councilmember Thier's perspective. Similarly, I agree that appointing Ms. Voss is kind of a no-brainer in that she has been so involved in the parks master plan and has that whole group with whom she's been working. And I think that even though I characterize that process as sort of being through the Python to some extent, I think that one thing that the current post members have done really well is to shepherd that continuously. And so I think it's important to have people on the commission who are willing to stay with that, even though a lot of the spending decisions are now in our hands. I think it would be premature to let it, to sort of disengage with the public on that. So I really appreciate that. It really is very difficult for me to not want to support Mike Shepard because he has been so involved. He's been interviewed 3 times, and he obviously is, everything checks every box. However, in this case, I would support Mr. Khan because I really think that the one thing that we've left out, the public really, really wants is stand-up paddleboard access. And we need somebody, it's not that the Post hasn't been working on it, but they've been unsuccessful at working with Belvedere and convincing Belvedere that that's the way to go. And I really think he can bring that in a way that we just haven't seen other Post members bring. So I would support the those two as the nominees. I'm totally agnostic as to who gets which role. You cannot make me choose that, but I'm eager to hear other people's comments. Thanks.
So I think based off of my the other council members' comments, am I too late to second Holly's motion?
You're not. It's
I think
pending.
I'm going to second it.
Okay.
With a couple comments that I think I echo what Councilmember Ryan and Councilmember Thier said. I think I was sitting at that podium, I don't know what it was, like 8 years ago, 10 years ago, something like that. Little did that town council know what they were getting themselves into when they put me on post. It's hard to put yourself out there. It's tough to represent yourself. I think a lot of the folks in Tiburon have accomplished really incredible things in life, both in their job and in their private lives. And so I think for everyone who came out, I applaud just, being willing to serve in your community is an incredible, it's incredible gift to give your community. And it's an incredible sacrifice that you're making for your family and your time to come out here. So thank you to everyone who came out here. I think I'll stop there.
Okay.
And we do have a lot of opportunities for involvement. So please don't go away. Please stay. Please, there's a lot of other commissions as well.
Actually, Mr. Shepherd, I was thinking we have a citizens advisory panel which meets quarterly with the police department. And I think we have an opening on that panel. You might be excellent for that because of the bike advocacy thing. Like that would be right in the wheelhouse for, you roll your eyes, but that's the way.
I think he feels like he's getting a consolation prize, Jack.
No, but it's like I'm on the panel too. So think it like, cookies, like it's amazing. But
cookies.
That's the way to get the ear of the police department and say, hey, look, we're under enforcing or not focusing on this. And then we could always, work with the Post on ideas, but that could be super interesting, I think. Because you're right, like we sort of have failed on that so far. Like we're kind of burying our head in the sand and it's like working so far, but any actuary would say, what are you guys doing? Like, get a plan. That's not a way to manage the risk. So I don't know, think about it. Anyway, sorry. It's a citizens advisory panel.
Well, question for town staff. If Mr. Shepherd was interested in that.
It's not on the agenda.
It's not on there.
No, I'm not saying we would I'm saying what's the process?
I'll contact you with it. It is another application process, but it's not that long.
We can take your application. Anyway,
ChatGPT help you out.
So my comment would be, I would hire all of you. I think you're great. I think each one of the candidates brings something really interesting and important to Post if they were to be appointed. I do think that in this process, I particularly value sort of ongoing engagement. So the folks that had comments about what specifically they have been involved in and what they care about, I think that puts them in a competitive field. I think that puts them in a higher competitive place. And yeah, I don't know that I would necessarily have made the motion that's been made, but I can live with it. So I will, I'll support it as well. So I think we need a roll call.
So just to confirm, the motion is to appoint Nicole Voss to the 4-year term and Jonathan Kahn to the 2-year term.
Correct.
Yes.
Thank you. So the roll call vote is Councilmember Fredericks is absent, Councilmember Ryan,
Yes.
Councilmember Thier,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nick Barr,
Yes.
and Mayor Wallner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for applying. Next we have a public art proposal. Can we have a staff report, please?
Yes, Mayor and council members, tonight you're considering a public art proposal by the Heritage and Arts Commission, and you'll see we have the two Heritage and Arts Commissioners here to present the proposal. The ask tonight, and I'll let them speak to the actual proposal itself, but the ask tonight is to actually consider approval of the project and to approve a $20,000 expenditure to fund the project. And I'll pass it over to Chair Gupta.
Well,
Thank you, council members. It's great to be here. Before I don't know if we're actually going to see the proposal on screen or not. Yes, we are. Before we go through the proposal, though, I would like to say just a few words about how we got here to this proposal. Scott Froschauer is a fairly well-known contemporary artist in LA. He was brought to the attention of the Heritage and Arts Commission about 4 years ago with the Public Art Selection Panel, which was a group that we had standing for a number of years, but is no longer here. He helped with a fundraising effort by fabricating small signs, kind of enamel badges for the fundraising effort around Thomas Jackson's Collaborative Nature, which was out on South of Knoll, which was the first public art project that I was involved in. And he's, been showing his sign art. It's a combination of text, symbol, across the country, dozens of cities, varying sizes. Currently, his most latest installation was in Boston for Winterfest, which is a very competitive public art project where a number of artists submit their proposals and then few are selected. It's there in Boston to get people to come out and brave the cold and the ice and snow. This project, we engaged Scott a little over a year ago. He came out here. For 2 days we walked around. It's very, very tied to Post. So it's been interesting to hear the meeting so far has been all about Post, and we're going back to Post because we actually met with Post, my vice chair, Liz Feibush, and I twice. The first time was just an initial presentation, and they overwhelmingly, unanimously liked it and approved it. And they had a few suggestions. They wanted more of his work, and they also had specific ideas of locations from Blackie's Pasture all the way down to the ferry terminus in downtown. And they felt that the thinking was that the past two H&A public art projects, South of Knoll was a 3-month stint with Thomas Jackson. It was this array of 700 fabric pieces. It was very striking. That's its own kind of a thing. In a Landscape with Hunter Nowak, the pianist, was a 1-day event on McKegney Green, which was very successful. Both had their challenges, both had, pros and cons. And like all art projects, subjectivity and pros and cons factor into it. The one thing I'm gonna let Vice Chair Feibush here speak to the reach of this project with regards to what we feel our audience really is, because oftentimes I think for public art we're only considering the adult residents of our town. And what Post really liked about it was that this has a real broad reach. So Vice Chair Feibush, maybe you could speak to that.
Hi, good evening. Typically my 7.5-year-old has been joining us at the last couple of post meetings as well. He's a supporter of this project because he enjoys the Reed walk and roll, or what is it, walk and roll, the biking from Blackie's down to Reed. When I showed him the signs, he really liked the positive encouragement. There's so many, and Scott calls this out in his proposal as well. A lot of these signs that we see are stop, do not enter, and this gives us a positive spin. So as you're going up and down Tiburon, it gives that exploratory nature. And then one of the key things we've talked about at the post meetings is how we can amplify the marketing around this, and including QR codes at all of the different signs, and making it kind of a scavenger hunt for Tiburon residents and also people visiting the town, that they can come off the ferry and go take them all the way down to Blackie's, and potentially even like creating merchandise that we could sell at one of our outposts downtown. So there's a lot of different marketing ideas we have to encourage people to move around either by bike or walking with this project as well.
I will also add that the nature of, text and signs and symbiology is not new to contemporary art. It's been around for decades, since Barbara Kruger first introduced her sign paintings in the late 70s and early 80s. It's very different from, other works that we've seen here, both in the galleries and at Tiburon. It's very fresh, and it's also eminently Instagrammable as well. So we feel that it's going to draw a lot of people. Scott's got a pretty big fan base, but cities from Glendale to Boston and Toronto have had his work. The Smithsonian Museum in DC has also shown his work. So we're excited to introduce this. Post loved this, and we feel that with public art, we're really working very closely with Post, and that was something that we've been hearing for the last 2 years from Post, is that we really want to work with you guys closely, and we love that our commission is able to work hand in hand with Post to develop these projects and to bring new and fresh ideas to the city and to all ages here. With that, I don't know if we need to go through it or not, but we can certainly go through the.
Yeah, flip through some of the.
You want to start at the ferry, at the first sign? This was a sign that Scott came up with, cast off the phrase he felt was he did specifically for Tiburon, with the idea being that when you come to this town, you let go of whatever maybe, whatever cares you might have or whatever anxieties, and just feel that you're able to set forth on a different kind of a voyage and be free. And we really felt that this was a good sort of a phrase for the town, certainly. I will say that, the various stages that this project went through at the commission itself wasn't seamless. It was, we did have it's a democracy. We had a vote on this project, and the overwhelming majority of commissioners did vote for it. However, we did have objections, and it's gotten some press as well. A lot of people feel that signs are clutter. Now, these signs are not all grouped together. They're spread out over, a 2-mile length. And here's where it starts. It starts when you get off in the terminal, the ferry terminus there. We carefully chose that spot so it would be out of view from the Point Tiburon Homeowners Association, and it would not obstruct their view of the city. After this, we can continue. You follow down the bike path, past the lagoons. The signs are not on the Belvedere side of the path. They're on the Tiburon side of the path. So we avoid any kind of conflict with the town of Belvedere. The first sign, do your best, is right across from Reed School, which we thought was great messaging for the.
These are on the walking path?
They're on the walking
Okay,
path.
not on the road.
Nothing is on the, Scott's done this all over. Nothing is on a road. Nothing involves any kind of, vehicular traffic
All right.
at all,
That's important.
Yeah. But we really like the placement of Do Your Best near Reed School right there. Then you have Yield to the Heart. Going down towards the BTC, those are the two signs there. Continuing on. This is south of Knoll and near the gazebo at McKegney. And then finally, this is at Blackie's. And the row of signs that you see vertically are a Taoist poem by the Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu, which is kind of cool, I think. And then there's finally an array of signs at the back of Zelinsky Park, which allows people to still use the park. It's not, right there obstructing any use of the park at all. And that's really it. And we feel that, with a 6-month period, this is one of those work projects where people can really kind of let it grow on them. And, I think there'll be different reactions, and that's what art is about. It's about communicating ideas, and, not every painting is to everyone's taste, and certainly not every public art project is either. But we feel that in the sum of things, it's an exciting, original, and new project. And we did have, as I said, overwhelming approval from Post. They thought it was great. It's right up, aligned with what they want for public art in their spaces. And
how long did you say it would be up?
Well, it's about a 6-month period. At the end of that period, the artist is amenable to selling the signs to recoup, any of the funds that we've expended on the project itself.
Selling the signs to the benefit of the town?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. To townspeople, because, if you like your sign,
right,
you could take it and put it inside your house, put it in your lawn, put it in your backyard, whatever. And again, he has a very sophisticated system of QR codes and a digital extension of the project. Everything is done to code. He's done it in cities all across California and the nation. It's turnkey. It would take him 2 days to install everything. We'd be working with Post, of course, and with Public Works, and that's about it. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay. So,
oh, sorry, just one. We did talk about the master plan and the construction, and then there's also some beach construction. And so if any of that is happening during the installation, we're flexible to move any of the locations if needed.
Okay, thank you. So I guess this is an extension of staff. So any questions for the speakers?
Yeah, just really quickly, in the installation process on the memo, it talked about attaching the signs to the poles, but it didn't talk about how the poles are affixed into the ground. Is there cement, or are they just stuck in? How does that work?
There's a couple of options there, but I think in the longer proposal, not in the shorter proposal, but in the longer proposal, there is a detailed explanation of how it's put in there and everything like that. I'm not an engineer. I can't really, I would do a poor job. But if we have it, I'm happy to read off of that document. It's Exhibit 1. I think we only have the installation process here. I can't.
I could have just missed it, but I didn't see how it talked about how the poles were secured in the ground.
Yeah, I mean, he's very conscious of any kind of environmental impact. Here we go. Installed using the same materials and techniques that the signs in Tiburon are installed with. The typical typically a material called Telespar, which is the square steel post with the holes in it. The signs are attached to the post using industry standard tamper-proof hardware. There you go.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he talks about the ground.
Any idea, Greg? No, no idea how that.
Oh, here at the very bottom, we can also mount to concrete, right?
There we go. Ensure that the spots we choose don't have sprinkler lines or gas, telecom, or water. The anchors and go into the ground are 30 inches long.
Okay.
And okay, so it's an anchor.
Gotcha.
But you could do it with concrete if you so desired. Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Other questions for them?
Yeah, how did you guys find this, or how did they find you?
As I mentioned earlier, initially, the public art selection panel that was in place about 4 years ago had gone out and discovered artists that they felt would be good for town projects. Scott Froschauer was one of those artists, and I really liked his work. I thought it was very cutting edge and contemporary. I thought it was incredibly accessible for all age ranges too. And that was an important part of my advocacy for this project, was that, his whole sort of mission is to bring messages that are positive and uplifting. And certainly, I think, I have children also in the Reed School District as well. And I want to see more of that kind of messaging for them. And I want them outside. So that was really kind of the impetus, I think. But, as a former art historian, I will also say that I'm also interested in his play with utilitarian signs and forms,
Surprising messages.
and different kinds of messages. And I think that that's part of the art here, is that it requires us to kind of on the face of it, it might see one thing, but after repeated visits, it might be something else. And it's all about, for him, it's all about discovery and planting an idea in your head and being able to meditate upon that idea.
Other questions?
Yeah, I had a couple. I think this is a really fun art display, so thank you. I think it's like a lot of the other great projects that we've had recently. I think Heritage and Arts I think you guys are hitting your stride. I think there have been a lot of really fun projects the last couple I've enjoyed a lot. Love the energy. And I think more of this is appreciated. So and what you're doing is appreciated. And a couple, you kind of addressed one of my questions, which was, if everyone loves the signs, can we just leave them in?
That is also an option. In the longer proposal, that is an option. I'm going to have to revisit that with Scott. Again, we're feeling that for our purposes, we like to do temporary projects because we feel that a permanent project requires
Right.
a lot more kind of
Maintenance, and there are other things that go along.
yeah, and then also like feedback from communities. However, maybe there is one or two signs that we might want to keep, and that's something that we could certainly consider down the road. Yes.
The second one was about, can we order copies of the signs if we want if we want to? I think
I'm sure
that was a question.
Yeah. I mean, he can fabricate these, fairly at reasonable prices and fairly quickly too.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the third question, I think, given what happened at McKegney, my third question is, how do we fix them if they get damaged through storm, like a storm or something else like that, or vandalism?
I mean, they're graffiti proof.
Okay.
Okay. They are.
It sounds like a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the street signs that we have right now. I mean, they're not, they're basically built to code in that
Right.
sense. So they're not, they're not flimsy little art signs only. They're actually built to code, and they are graffiti. They have a coating that prevents people from spray painting them and stuff. And I mean, it would take a lot to knock it down, and also you'd have to be pretty tall, I would think, to get up there as well. So,
I think you kind of answer it with we can easily refabricate.
absolutely,
They're easily replaceable.
absolutely.
So that's great news as well.
And I mean, again, like if there's a negative reaction to a sign, I mean, there's a story there, and it's an art. It's a reaction to art. I mean, we do have crazy people who go into museums these days, and do we want that to happen? No, but art definitely provokes reactions and responses, and I think we're aware of that, and we're good with that as well. I mean, the Thomas Jackson piece was up there for 3 months, and it was untouched. Nobody ever took even like a single one or row of those fabric pieces off.
That's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. Yeah. I mean, it's a real testament to the residents and the people and the kids of our town, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's great to see that Tiburon is continuing to invest in public art like this. So it's wonderful. So thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? Okay, so I think what we're going to do, just stand by because we may have more questions.
Okay.
So we'll go to public comment. Does anyone here would like to speak? Please say your name and got 3 minutes.
Hi. Are we going to wait for Holly or we
No.
just, okay, all right. I'm Lenore Noguez. I'm a resident of Tiburon, and I oppose this project for a number of reasons. First of all, I do not look at it as an art project. I simply look at it as an art. I look at it as a repurposing of street signs because that's what it is. Instead of street signs saying yield or stop or whatever, they come up with what are supposed to be, I guess, inspirational or affirmation statements like yield, still yield, get creative, or cast off, things like that. And I think what isn't clear, and correct me if I'm wrong, we are not buying these signs. We are basically paying Mr. Froschauer $20,000 to fabricate these and then rent them to us for 6 months. We don't own these. So essentially, we would be paying, if you take 20,000 divided by 6 months, $3,333 worth of repeating decimal of 33 per month to rent these signs. If at the end of this exhibition, we want to keep them, he has said that he will give us, that if we sell them, we would get 20% portion of the sale reverting to the town of Tiburon. So the way it sounded like it was explained earlier is that we own these. We don't own them. He owns them. We rent them. And also, it is not clear to me how these are actually going to be fixed. So anytime you're going to break ground, you have to consider how is the ground going to be prepared for installation, who's going to install them, who is going to remove them, who's going to restore the ground to its pre-installation condition, and what are all the incidental costs related to that, because that's not built into this proposal. So who's going to pay for all that, for the materials and everything else? If in fact that he's going to do it, then my question is liability. Who does it run with? Because as far as I can tell, all of these are going to be put on the town's property. So is the artist, therefore, if he's going to be the one who's going to install them and put them in the ground, I worry about, is he going to indemnify the town if anybody gets hurt or there's any damage? So those are things that I think need to be considered, and they haven't been addressed in any way, shape, or form. I mean, for the fact that we don't know right now as we sit here, given the many iterations that this project has been gone through, and we don't know how those signs are going to be secured to the ground, is a real problem for me. I also think that, and I've said it before, that this is, as I forget when Arjun said that this kind of sign, quote, art has been around a long time. It is nothing new. There's nothing, how should I put it? There is nothing innovative, creative, or anything else about this. It's been done. You can go, for instance, to a place like Target and buy these signs by Joanna Gaines that say, live, love, pray. This is this, but in a sign, and we're going to rent it from Mr. Flushow. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Go ahead. Let's have all the public comments first.
Hi.
Hi there.
Jenna.
Hi, Jenna.
Hi, I'm a parent here in Tiburon, and I just want to express my support for this proposed installation. I think it's wonderful. I think it's very fun and positive, very accessible. I have a 4.5-year-old son, and he is obsessed with signs, like all kinds of signs. And I think this would engage him. Like, I don't think he would probably take much note of like a bronze sculpture, but like signs, like that would be super exciting. And I think it's great for the town to be thinking about creating installations that engage all ages of people. It's also pretty inexpensive for public art. It's also temporary. So if some people don't like it, it won't be there forever unless the town decides to buy it. But it just feels like a no-brainer to me. And I really support this. So thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Anyone online?
Yes, I will recognize Trish.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. Thanks to everyone for the great enthusiasm. This has just been an amazing presentation, and I know a lot of work has gone into this. I was really impressed earlier tonight with the care and concern that was exemplified about the process that was gone through to get public sentiment for all the projects that are going on, public input. And I just feel like I want to ensure that we do an inclusive approach to getting public sentiment on this. We know, as has been mentioned, that not everybody's always going to like something, but I'd like to feel, as a member of the commission and a resident here for 26 years, that we are reaching out and really being all encompassing and allowing our constituency, the public and the members and the town of Tiburon and Belvedere, that the people that see this and live with this, in addition to all of our children, giving them the opportunity before we make a commitment like this. I know it's only $20,000 relative to other projects. That doesn't seem like a lot. For our small budget, it is a lot. And we have been, I think, somewhat spoiled because our projects have been extraordinary. I was down in the Thomas Jackson installation almost every day and could see little kids and all kinds of ages just enraptured by the flags blowing in the wind, and it looked different every time of the day. But this is an example of tonight. We all come with this with tremendous enthusiasm. And someone said, has there ever been a time where you were all going to make a decision and then you heard other opinions and you changed your mind? So I represent sort of the marketing geek that is always saying, have we done enough to get public sentiment, public input? Specifically, I know there was an article that ran in the ARC and there were some comments in there, not exactly positive. We had another Nextdoor post that ran in November. There was some Nextdoor coverage, and that was also not very positive. So I just want to make sure that we're not sitting here in a bubble. I'd love to see us have a more robust process that goes beyond the people in this room and the people that from the committee that that are representing the project tonight. So that's all I have to say. Just I'd like everybody to think about that. As we go forward in this process, we're not really in a rush. I just want to make sure that we're including public sentiment, regardless of whether it's all positive, negative, and we come out at the same point. We just have a process that's inclusive. That's all. Thanks.
Great, thank you.
I will recognize now Victoria. Victoria, if you can hear me, you need to accept my request to turn your microphone on.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. That's on my new laptop. Thank you very much for letting me have some time to discuss this. I'm Victoria Fong. I serve on the Heritage Commission, and I just like to comment that what my fellow commissioner Trish has said, we have gone through a lot of public input, obviously, as she has mentioned, since last November. We've had a lot of negatives, and we've also had a lot of positives. And I think I'm here to support our chair and vice chair's comments regarding the importance of sharing public art. And I think this is a wonderful project to have something different. And we could like it or dislike it. And I think that's the best way to get a public input. And I think in the past, we've done surveys that gets 100 reviews, maybe, and we've done so much, back and forth on surveys. I think we need to move forward and let's make a decision on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no further comments.
Okay, great. So Arjun, did you want to address some of the issues that were raised?
The HNA meetings are open to the public. This project has been at our meetings maybe half a dozen times at the very least. And the public is free to come and give their opinions. As somebody who works in the art world as a professional, I will say that, and I don't need to tell you this, you probably know as well, not everything is to everyone's taste. And sometimes, people who object loudly to things that they feel are interfering with their line of sight. We were careful when Scott came out here to make sure that certain views were not obstructed by his signs. It's a temporary project. Thomas Jackson's project was half the time that this one is, and more costly than this one is. No one kept any of his fabric pieces. None of them were for sale afterwards either. I think, art is a subjective matter. And, not everything has to be highbrow. Not everything has to be lowbrow. Sometimes we just want to put something out there that, communicates an idea and creates a reaction. And hopefully that's a positive reaction for most, but it won't always be a positive reaction. I know that with Thomas Jackson's work, there was a huge outcry from certain circles that, mayflies were getting trapped in the fabric. And so I would go out there with my fellow commissioners every few days, and we would literally release any trapped mayflies in the 700 plus fabric.
Okay, that's incredible.
Pieces that are there.
I had never heard that.
And the buy-in for that project really had to do with the people in the surrounding neighborhood, and they overwhelmingly supported it. This one runs across several neighborhoods in Tiburon, and it is a bike path that is used quite frequently. It's 15 signs over a 2-mile length. I really feel that the outcry over, whether it's, I'm not going to litigate whether it's art or not. I have a graduate degree in art history. I'm happy to do that some other time, but I'm not going to do that here. I will also say that Scott has done this in larger townships and municipalities than this one across the country. He knows what he's doing. He works with everybody, Public Works. The issue of liability is a non-issue in this case. We've addressed it with Post at the meetings with Post as well. They're well aware of the process. They're well aware of all the issues at hand. including how it's put into the ground and who would be, what that impact is and how he would be working with Public Works to do that. So I feel that, as I said, it's a turnkey project. He's done it in 24 cities across the country. And it's now in Boston. I think they just took it down this month. If Boston can do it, and I'm from Boston, and I'll tell you, they're not exactly, they're art snobs in Boston. So if Boston can handle it, I'm sure that the people in this town can handle it too. But that said, I don't think I have no concerns with the process. I take full responsibility as the chair for this process going forward, and I'm happy to vouch for Scott and his process in installing them and then ultimately taking them down as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Actually, can I ask one question?
Oh,
Oh,
sure.
sorry. Can I ask you one quick question? I mean, so in the $20,000 that we're paying Scott, to the extent that he needs someone to come check to make sure there are no utilities where he wants to put a post in, is that part of the $20,000 or is that a expense that we should expect to incur on top of that?
Well, that's why we've been working with Post and with Public Works to make sure that, along the bike path, there are no, again, it's 30 inches into the ground, that there are no lines that he's interfering with. And I'm sure that there are maps and such, but that's all included. There's no additional cost to this project at all. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments online or anywhere else? Okay. All right. So let's close the public comment piece and bring it to discussion. What do you think?
I have a question. Was everyone that commented also on the Heritage Arts Commission? Or did we also have members of the public that gave comments?
I don't think Jenna was right. It's not.
But were the positives and the negatives, other than Jenna, all members of the Heritage and Arts Commission that voted on this in their last meeting? 4-2?
2 votes against were from Norman Vance and Trish. The 5 other commissioners, 5 of the 7 commissioners voted to approve the project.
Okay. In general, we should be speaking into the mic. So is that the answer?
Do you want me to come up?
No,
I'm just saying if you continue to.
I was just trying to understand if the commentary that we got were members of the public that were pro and con, or if the Heritage and Arts wasn't done with the decision at Heritage and Arts and brought that back to this meeting.
Surprising. I'll answer. She was a member of the public who did speak.
Right.
The other 3 who spoke for public comment are from the commission. 1 was in favor, and the 2 votes that were against this project right from the start were also here.
Okay.
Nora and Trish Farron.
Right.
But 5 of the 7 commissioners, it's a democratic process.
Of course.
And
I appreciate the people who didn't win in that democratic process came back
and they're still
which is what we're here for.
They're still fighting it. Yeah.
I'm just trying to get a sense of what I'm seeing here and what I'm listening, what we're trying to understand.
No, we're not. We're not having it. The public comments closed. We were just asking a question, and then we're going to be done.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for clarifying.
Other comments?
I'm inclined to support the project. It was voted on 5-2. They're the experts in the art. We tasked them with coming up with art projects and approving them post-approved. I can't imagine, despite Ms. Noguez's perfectly reasonable objections, I don't know why I would object at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's gone. We've gotten the recommendations of Heritage and Arts. It passed with a majority, and Post is also clearly very excited about it. So I tend to support that. Although I do hear the comments brought up by the members of Heritage and Arts, and there are some concerns there. I think we've talked about them in this forum and they, they do need to be addressed, right? Is actually getting them in safely, and yeah, I don't have any other questions.
Was that a statement of support, or is that you haven't decided? I'm just trying to.
I know, I think it's a statement of support.
So my comment is, so I respect all the views that were presented, and what I will say is one of the surprising, really joyful parts of being a council member has been seeing the public art process in Tiburon thrive. And I've been very excited and proud of the public art displays that we have. And I think they're fun and they're stimulating and they're great. I was not inclined to support this before the meeting. I think Arjun and Liz, I think you did a wonderful job of presenting it. My main concern really was I was worried that people would be on the road and would be confused and would be trying to yield to a heart while they're driving, and I just didn't think that was a good idea. Now that I fully understand the project, I think it's fun. I think it's great. I'll support it too. So I think it appears that Councilmember Thier has stepped out, so I think we're just gonna, unless she's within earshot, I think we're gonna go ahead and vote.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the project and to approve the allocation of the $20,000.
I will second that.
Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Fredericks is absent. Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Thier is absent. Vice Mayor Nickvar.
Yes.
And Mayor Wellner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Have fun.
Are Holly and Alice meeting without us?
You have FOMO. All right.
Dude, they're fun.
Okay, so next on the agenda, we have so what I'm going to suggest is that let's go through these next two action items, and then before the public hearings, we'll take a quick break, and then we'll go into the public hearings so people can anticipate what we're going to do. So why don't we go ahead with the Juneteenth celebration item. Can I have a staff report, please?
Yes, tonight council is considering a road closure and a request for funding. The DITF reviewed the proposal for the annual Juneteenth celebration at the DITF meeting last month. And so tonight the council is considering the closure of Lower Main Street for the event, and then an additional funding request as well. The council already approved $10,000 for this event back in August, and the proposal came in about $3,155 beyond that. So the council is asked to consider authorization of an additional $3,200 or so. And I will note actually in the staff report, the road closure request says 2 to 9, but I would actually request it to be 1 p.m. to 9 instead.
All right, so
sorry, one more thing.
Please.
I noted in the staff report as of last week, we were anticipating a grant from the Belvedere Community Foundation for $1,000, and we hadn't received it yet, but we have received it as of this week. So we have an additional $1,000 for the event.
Is that a reduction of the ask, or is that on top of the ask?
I would say it's a reduction of the ask.
All right, thank you. So we'll start off with the usual questions, hearing, comments. So any questions for staff about this? No.
So yeah, one quick question. So doesn't mention in the same way that Heritage and Arts has an annual allocation or an allocation of money. This doesn't talk about how much money DITF has, or this isn't in addition to what we've approved before. Is this similar in that like we're approving from the DITF?
Correct.
The DITF recommendation.
Yeah, I remember.
Yes. I don't have the number of what the DITF's event budget is this year, but this is within the existing budget.
Okay, so I think we're moving to public comment. Anyone in the room would like to comment on it? Anyone online?
Seeing none.
Okay, so it comes back to the council. I'd actually like to go a little out of order and speak to this first, if I may. I'm actually really opposed to this. I think we when we first started as DITF, as the Diversity Inclusion Task Force, and when we first started having events, the events were paying for themselves, and then there were contributions being made by the town towards the events, and the events were expected to fundraise for themselves and also plan the events to be kind of sized to the amount that could be paid for with the funds. And I think we have now, boy, how many events do we have? 6 or 7 a year? And during the discussion when we approved this year's budget, we said each would get 10,000, and that if they needed more, they would engage in fundraising, and they could also plan their events in accordance with that allocation. And I think that there is an inherent unfairness in giving more to an event that simply asks for it, because I think every event is valuable and every event has the opportunity to fundraise and to plan its event accordingly. So I'm going to vote against it. It's not a big deal. It's a small amount of money in the scheme of things, but I think we allocated the $10,000 based on a principle that everyone was going to get some help, but that ultimately they're responsible for the events that they're planning. And I think we should stick to it. So that's my view.
I mean, I tend to agree. I wish that they had come with sort of an itemized, hey, this is what the money's being spent for, because we could say, hey, it would be nice to reduce, to stay within scope, like you can cut one thing or whatever and stay within budget. It's not like we're canceling the event. It just means there, of the activities, there's one fewer. So I think, you know, working with a budget of 10,000 plus the 1,000 grant is perfectly adequate, and I agree with you.
So the current ask is 1 to 9 p.m. for the closure, and then $2,500
on top of the 10,000.
So 1,250, right? 12,500 is the total ask.
It looks like 12,155.
12,155.
Yeah. I agree that
it's like a drop in the bucket.
Agree.
So I tend to support it. Like it's maybe it's not presented in the way that we want to look at it, but I think it's a really fun event. If it's a small, it's a small cost increase, and a lot of people have a lot of fun at this event, and it's great for downtown. I think the benefit to the town is in excess of even the $12,000 that we're paying for it. So I would support it.
Okay, can we have as if there's anything more to say, or are we ready for a vote?
Oh, no one's made a motion yet, so.
Oh, okay. I just wouldn't make a motion.
I'm gonna hazard making a motion.
Well, we need to make, okay, I'm sorry. Why don't we split this?
Do we need to do public comment first, or are we?
I think we already did.
Okay.
Didn't we already do it?
Okay.
Why don't we split this in two? Because these are kind of two separate issues. One is the closure and the other is the funding. Is that okay?
Yeah. So I'll do the first motion to approve the closure of Main Street from 1 to 9 p.m.
Second. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Fredericks is absent. Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Thier is absent. Vice Mayor Nickvar
Yes.
and Mayor Wellner.
Yes.
All right. And then the second ask is to approve, the second motion is to approve funding for $2,155.52 for the Juneteenth celebration, as requested by the DITF.
And obviously I got my objection on the principle out of the way, but I'm going to second that motion.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Fredericks is absent. Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Thier is absent. Vice Mayor Nick Farr.
Yes.
And Mayor Wellner.
No.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item is another separate Upper Main Street road closure request. Can we have a staff report, please?
Yes, council is considering another Main Street closure. This one is for Upper Main Street, Arc Row. We've received a special event permit from one of the businesses on Arc Row that has requested to hold a special event on Wednesday, May 13th, during the afternoon, and they've requested a closure of the road. So that is coming to council tonight. I understand the event representatives are here, so I will let them speak to the event itself.
Good evening.
Hi.
My name's
Welcome.
Ava Timby, and I am the co-owner with Ava Claiborne for Maison de Havana, and this is Keith Bartel and Merchant on Upper Main Street. We had our soft opening in November and our official opening in February, and had a fashion show since then. On May 13th, we are hosting a fashion designer, Anne Fontaine, to come for a fashion event. We see the vision of our store and this event as a way to bring the community and businesses together. As part of the event, we are co-partnering with the businesses to promote them as well on Upper Main Street. The event would be from 4 to 8 with the closure. We'd want a little bit more time to give us some buffer. We do realize that it does impact some of the parking. We're fortunate enough to have quite a bit of parking lots around, and we just feel like this could be a really positive event to really bring the community together. Do you have anything else, Keith?
I think it would improve the safety of the group of people. There would be 100 to 150 people. Over 100 people have already RSVP'd for the event. And the merchants on Arc Row are allowed to use the sidewalks in front of their spaces in any way they would like to, in accordance with the town. And the sidewalk is very narrow. So with that many people, it would ensure safety for the crowd of people and people that pass walking.
Yeah. Okay.
So, do you have any questions?
Yeah. Are there any questions?
Have you talked to the Chamber of Commerce about this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Melanie is involved.
Yes.
Okay.
And we would be open to also a partial closure if that would make it a little bit easier.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you were closing both sides of the street or just one way.
I think
Traffic.
the initial idea was to close both sides, but we're open to closing the one side. Of course, that takes away all the parking, but cars and emergency vehicles could still have access through Main Street.
I think we have the staff.
I would just say that
that sounds dangerous.
Emergency vehicles, I think, would have access. It would be difficult to have two-way access with one lane closed there in that location. So we'd have to think that through.
It would be one way for sure if it was one.
Yeah. So it's honestly almost easier just to close the road than it is to try to maintain one way in terms of signage and the public understanding.
See our legal department vigorously nodding with that idea.
I haven't seen any late mail about this. I don't think there's been any feedback, positively or negatively. So it doesn't appear that there's a outcry.
I don't believe we've received any late mail.
Just a question for staff about what the traffic impact is of doing this.
Well, it's, there's clearly, we'll have to think about signage. Normally we're closing Lower Main Street. So this is a different, we have closed Upper Main Street.
We have before, I know we have.
For the holiday festival, we have, so we'll have to dust off sort of how we sign that. Because clearly folks will be able to travel on Lower Main Street if they're trying to get to for instance, the parking lot, near Arc Row or the Corinthian Yacht Club. Those would be the two main locations. It's the signage at the other end of the street that we have to think about, and getting folks coming from Belvedere who are normally able to turn right on Main Street. I'm assuming the closure would be after the the name of the road's escaping me right now.
Corinthian Island would be accessible.
Yeah, Corinthian Island would be
Eastview
accessible.
is Eastview is the one that comes down, right?
And I'm assuming the exit from Corinthian Island, Eastview, would,
Definitely.
the closure would be after that, so
Similar to when we had the
Corinthian would
holiday
be
festival.
fine. It would be between those two roads.
To minimize the impact.
Yeah, so.
Right, so everyone on Corinthian can get on the normal way and they can get off of Corinthian Island the normal way. They would just take Main Street rather than Arc Row.
Correct. They wouldn't be able to do the U-turn at the little rotary at the end of Main Street. They would just take a left on Main Street and then take a left on
They
Tiburon
probably
Boulevard.
do anyway, right?
What's that?
That's probably what they do anyway, naturally.
I think most people do, yeah.
And I mean, so does this even count against the annual closures because it's not Lower Main Street, right?
The
we know
annual closures is a policy. It's
but we also, I mean, we'd have to go back and look what you said, but I think we were all thinking Lower Main Street when we did that, because it's rare to have an Upper Main Street closure. So
thanks.
I think the short answer is probably no, that doesn't.
Okay. Do we have anything else procedurally we need to do before we go to a motion or no
yes,
motion?
we have to take public comment. This was a staff report. So thank you.
Thank you.
I don't think there could be any public comment in the room since there's no one here and left at this late hour, but is there anyone online?
Seeing none.
Okay, so bring it back to council. Now we're prepared for conversation or a motion.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the closure as requested of Upper Main Street between 3 p.m. and 8 p.m. For the special event hosted by the downtown business owner.
Second. Can you have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Fredericks is absent. Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Thier is absent. Vice Mayor Nick Barr.
Yes.
And Mayor Wellner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Looking forward to it. All right, so I think now we've reached the end of our action items. Let's take a 5-minute break and then resume.
So everyone else is going to come in for this next topic. Everyone's
As we all were. All right, so we have two hearing items tonight. So we're back in session. We have two hearing items tonight. First one is the Housing Element Annual Progress Report, which was submitted to the state at the end of last month, and we're now hearing about it. So staff report, please.
Good evening, Mayor Wellner and the two council members who are left this evening. I'm Sherry Meads, the Community Development Director. And so tonight you're hearing about two annual progress reports that the town is required to do. One reports on progress and status of the general plan, and the other one is progress and status on housing element, which I'm going to present on the general plan annual progress report, and then turn it over to Sam to talk about the housing element. So California requires, as I just mentioned, jurisdictions to prepare separate annual progress reports for general plan and housing elements. And these reports have to be presented to the legislative body of a jurisdiction and also submitted to the California Department of Housing and Community Development, frequently known as HCD, and the California the Department of Land Use and Climate Innovation, which used to be called OPR. And those have to be submitted by April 1st. The town mailed the reports to the council on March 30th and submitted both reports to the respective agencies on April 1st. So what I'm going to cover is accomplishments and progress toward implementing the goals and policies of the General Plan 2040, which was fairly recently adopted for calendar year 25. And then, like I said, Sam will report on the housing element progress report, and I'll let her give a deeper dive into what that means. So this slide and the next 5 slides report just some of the highlights. If you've looked at the report, it's many pages long. We go through each and every program in the general plan and provide any, highlights that we've done in 2025 or, that it's been updated. So the town, as we've talked about tonight, even the town's Parks Master Plan was approved by this body in January of 2025. There was a lot of outreach done in 2025, which will continue into 2026. And then this was something I thought was kind of interesting because a lot of things that come to council I'm going to report on, obviously you've already seen, but some of the day-to-day stuff that we accomplish here in the town isn't necessarily as sexy as what was a term that somebody used earlier. But one of the things that we've really worked hard on is trying to streamline the permitting process for solar distribution systems and storage systems. And we utilize a program called Solar App. And just last year, we issued 21 permits through that system, which makes it much easier. Other jurisdictions use it as well. So it's kind of a familiar thing for contractors who do this type of work and offer some consistency across jurisdictions, which can be very challenging when you're dealing with different departments. And then again, we talked quite a bit about art tonight. So I just highlighted here that, the town really invests in creating art exhibits here at Town Hall and throughout the town, host cultural events that are really special to the community. And here we have our artist laureate who was appointed in 2025, Krista Grunewald. And then obviously we see Chair Gupta next to her. Here's another thing, again, that, possibly the council may not know that we've worked on. Our website, we've been working really hard to increase the amount of resources. And so we have started last year a portal for accessibility resources where folks can kind of go to a one-stop shop for addressing different types of needs for members of the community. And then we mentioned the Chamber of Commerce, and the town partners with the Chamber of Commerce to help streamline the approval process for street closures. And 3 events just last year were 2 Friday Night on Main Summer Street parties, which I'm excited to experience for the first time this year, and the annual Holiday Festival. And then a couple of slides here about probably stuff you may know, but it's good to highlight again. A lot of infrastructure work that we accomplish here in the town. And this was an example of a seawall project where, as you can see on the slide on the left, there had been some damage to the wall. And then on the slide on the right, you can see it all pretty and fixed. So it's a completed project that we're very proud of. And then this is a storm drain open cut project that you probably saw in the CIP. This was where it was implemented in and around the Bel Air neighborhood. And again, this project was completed and, you know, is just one of the efforts of the town replacing aging infrastructure and improving drainage storage. So now I'm going to pass it over to Associate Planner Samantha Bonifacio, but she goes by Sam. She's going to talk about the Housing Element Annual Progress Report.
Good evening. So as Sherry mentioned, I will be discussing highlighting some updates from the annual progress report for our housing element. The progress report tracks two main things: the town's progress towards implementing the housing element, and also looking at where we are in terms of meeting the regional housing needs allocation, more commonly referred to as RENA. So starting with housing element implementation status update. This is for anyone who's following along with the Excel spreadsheet that is the form that we use to track this information. This was the information that was covered under Table D. So there were 77 programs identified in the housing element, and through 2023 through 2025, 21 of those programs have been completed. 50 are either continuous items or they're in progress, and 5 have not yet either been started or it's not required. As an example, a completed program would be some of the items that are listed below. So the town's website, we've added a lot more resources in terms of housing that we've made available on the website, and we've also distributed to the school and the library to make them more available. We've implemented an ADU survey that's distributed to new applicants and permit holders, which kind of goes along with accounting for different income affordability when we're looking at housing units that were actually created. Community stakeholder lists continue to be updated so that we can ensure when we are doing outreach, it reflects a broad spectrum of the town's population and parties that may be interested. And we've continued to collaborate with regional directors, planning staff, and various working groups. And another program that's implemented, Sherry mentioned it as well, is we're trying to improve the permit processing timelines. We're seeing a lot more interest in ministerial applications, so making sure that we have dialogue. One of the things that is actually a in progress program is looking at having more workshops for the public for some of the ministerial applications that people may not be aware of to generate more housing units.
I'm curious about the 5.
Yes.
So they've not started, but they might not be due.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many of those are not started but are due?
Well, one of the examples of not yet started is one of the programs is updating the housing element, which isn't due until 2031.
Right.
So some of the reporting is captured on an annual basis and some are reported on a biannual basis. So I can pull up one of the items really quickly if this iPad works. So for, a biannual review, if it was something that's not due until 2027, we have not completed that yet. So let me see.
I'm just wondering if any of them, if they're all not yet due, that's fine. If there's some that are due that haven't been done, I'm curious what they are.
I think the only one that's not due and has not started yet is hosting virtual and in-person workshops for ADUs. So that is something that we will need to do prior to 2031. We've been very successful with ADUs.
Yeah.
So we've continued to see, which I'll go into a little bit more. We've continued to see a lot of interest, but that is something we have unfortunately
That's
not
yet to
done
do.
yet.
Okay. All right.
We can still do that. So going to look at the progress for the RENA numbers. I'll go into this in a little bit more detail, but I would just like to acknowledge that there is a slight difference in the numbers that were presented to the Planning Commission and the ones that are before you this evening. But it's good It appears that we underreported the housing units in 2023. So the report that was presented to Planning Commission provided a total of 40 units, housing units that were issued. When HCD is evaluating progress for jurisdictions, they are trying to look to capture the number of issued housing units. So that is when a building permit has been issued for a new dwelling unit. So for 2023, originally that was showing that we had only issued 2 new housing units in that year. But when we looked back, we reconciled the numbers and realized that there were actually 17. So this report was submitted to HCD by April 1st as required, and we are currently working with them to reconcile that number so that our 2023 report accurately reflects that. And then also moving forward, it's capturing the full number. The exhibit that was provided before you, pardon me, as part of this packet is still reflecting that for 2023, it's still reflecting 2 units. That's because the form that's prepared and that we fill out is
Pre-populated.
exactly. Thank you. So we're a little limited in what we could do. So I wish we had, I apologize, we did not realize that earlier, but it does show that we're continuing to increase the number of units. So we are closer to our goal than we thought. And I think there has been a lot more interest in ministerial applications, like I mentioned, and also an increase in ADUs. So that number will continue to grow moving forward. So as I stated, ADUs, accessory dwelling units, are the main source of new housing. So 93% of the new units that we are accounting for are either ADUs or JADUs. We will be coming.
Samantha, I just had a question. I might have missed it, so my apologies if I missed it. But what is our allocated annual amount that we're approved for by RENA?
Sure. So it captures its, instead of being annual, it's a reporting period from 2023 through 2031.
Okay.
So it's that 8-year cycle we are required to, and let me see if I can get the thing to work. I'm never on this side of it.
Just the ADU number.
It's not broken down, so we don't have a requirement.
We
for
submitted
ADUs.
we estimated an ADU number to RENA that
You're right.
they approved as a part of our package.
That's right. I think it was 70.
Got it.
Because we're burning down, if I remember it correctly,
Yeah.
we're burning down that number much faster than we thought we were going to.
Absolutely.
And I might be a little bit fuzzy here, but I remember getting feedback that that number shouldn't be much higher, that RENA might not accept a number that was much higher. So I guess the question is, if we're burning that number down quick and we get to the number that they approved, what happens next? Do we ask for more because we've fulfilled that number, or does it matter? Does any of it matter?
It matters. It counts for our RENA numbers that we have to meet, but we don't need to amend our housing element to have new assumptions about the rate, if that's your question.
Yeah,
our housing element was approved, for the cycle with a certain assumption of ADUs.
Okay,
and
so
you're right, we couldn't have a more aggressive assumption because HCD said no.
Right.
But if we have more units come online, that does help us with meeting our RENA numbers, where other units that we're relying on might not come online.
So it's not like mobile minutes from the 90s where they don't roll over, they don't count. If we blow through that number, it still counts towards our housing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to confirm that. Thank you for indulging my side quest there.
Yeah. I mean, it would just, the issue is going to be because other areas are not moving forward as expected. There's a limit to how much that helps us.
If I may, the good thing is though that ADUs are covering a broad spectrum of income levels.
Yes.
So that is a real positive in the RENA numbers and HCD's eyes compared to new family dwellings or anything like that, which are not typically
So
affordable.
can I ask, how do ADUs get categorized in an income level?
Do you want to take it?
Sure. So as I mentioned, there's a housing survey, that is distributed when a building permit is issued for an ADU. And that survey is actually managed by ABAG, the Association of Bay Area Governments. And they have come up with a methodology. They've worked with HCD and it's been approved by HCD where we are not going to get 100% response rate. So in order to determine or provide a representation, or to get kind of, I don't want to say assumption, they have prepared a model. So essentially, based on the feedback that they have provided, and the information that's received, they've prepared a model that said of the income levels, Tiburon is most likely going to have the 4 higher levels. So above moderate, moderate, very low, and low. Acutely low and extremely low are not anticipated, so they weren't factored into this methodology. But it's a split of approximately 30 very low, 30 low, 30 moderate, or pardon me, reverse that. 30 above moderate, 30 moderate, 30 low, and 10% very low.
So is that's not the that's not the income level of the builder, that's what it's being used for? And so, for example, to get in the very low category, they would have to indicate that they're renting it below a certain level?
Correct.
And I do want to also add a little bit of a caveat to that, in that the ABAG numbers and methodology are based on the entire Bay Area. It's not looking at just what is happening in Tiburon. So there is a potential that they may say you need to deed restrict these units at these income levels to be able to count them toward that. But they haven't done that yet. So we're still able to use that methodology.
It's a model based on voluntary response.
That is exactly right.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
No, I'm glad you just said. So I think I've covered everything. And since there was a change in the numbers, we're working, like I said, with HCD. So we will be bringing back a finalized, or the version of the housing element annual progress report that is certified by HCD. We will bring that back on consent, just so you're able to see the final number. But it appears, I feel pretty confident it's going to be 62 units between 2023 and 2025.
And the general plan annual progress report has been accepted, and there are no changes to it. And then once we have both, I mean, I could put up the general plan annual progress report on the website now, and maybe I should. I was going to put them up both together, but there's no advantage to waiting. So those will go up on the website, and obviously something the Community Development Department strives for is to continue advancing all of our long-term housing strategies and thinking of new ones. And with that, we're here for questions.
I have a question. So when do we anticipate, so this is the annual report, when do we anticipate the mid-course evaluation by HCD? How does that work?
So the housing element, as Sam mentioned, is an 8-year planning period. So mid-year would obviously be, mid-cycle would be 2027 for us. Some jurisdictions have already started getting letters from HCD. This seems to be something they're kind of considering a regular course of business now. So most likely it would be next year.
Okay.
And we're actually doing pretty well.
And when you're saying other jurisdictions are getting letters, is that in the Bay Area, or is that?
Bay Area,
Okay.
yes.
That's interesting. Okay. But next year is the halfway mark.
It is, yeah. And I will say it's not related to here, but I did experience that up in Humboldt County, who is a cycle ahead of us, that they definitely did a mid-cycle review for everyone in
Sure.
Humboldt County.
Yeah. Okay. Other questions? Okay. Great. Thank you very much. And thank you for catching the missing units. I think every unit will help.
Very happy it was under-reporting rather than over-reporting.
Yeah.
So not a good mistake to find, but happy we have more units.
Absolutely. All right. Great. Thank you. Public comment. All right. So no comment here. Any comment online?
Yes, I will recognize Call Marin Home.
Oh, good. Okay. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Carmela Davis. I was born and raised in Marin, and I'm the housing specialist with Call Marin Home. We were formerly the Marin Environmental Housing Collaborative, and I'm speaking on behalf of the organization today. Call Marin Home is a coalition of organizations in Marin, including Habitat for Humanity, Greater San Francisco, Canal Alliance, Legal Aid of Marin, and others. And we are dedicated to improving housing affordability in Marin, and I'm going to share some comments on the APR. The data shows that Tiburon has permitted 29 units, bringing the total up. And as noted, all units permitted in 2025 were ADUs. However, that is not a guarantee that it will be turned into housing. And if it is turned into housing, it's not ensured that it would be available to non-family members or not friends of the property owner that's building the ADU. And there are still 592 units remaining to meet RENA requirements. We would like to see the council and planning commission work more aggressively to achieve these RENA goals. There's many tactics that Tiburon can adopt to generate more housing proposals, such as extending ministerial housing approvals, upzoning more land, increasing allowable densities, or working directly with developers and landowners to learn what obstacles they're facing that would prevent additional proposals. None of these actions cost money. We really urge you to take action. It's not only necessary to meet the state housing targets, but also to address the existing housing crisis and bring more economic activity to Tiburon. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Any further comments?
No further comments.
Okay. Looking, is there any action required, or do we simply review it and say thank you?
Accept it.
Move to accept.
We move to accept?
Yeah,
Okay.
I move to accept.
I'll second that.
As corrected.
Yeah.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Fredericks is absent. Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Thier is absent. Vice Mayor Nick Farr.
Yes.
And Mayor Wallner.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, we have municipal code amendments designed to bring our Tiburon ordinances or Tiburon code in line with new state requirements for ADUs. Can I have a staff report, please?
Hi, Sherry Meads, Community Development Director again. And yes, this is an item that you've seen before. The amendments are different, but as you know, the state continues to apply new regulations and require jurisdictions to update their codes related to them. And so tonight we are looking at any changes that have happened since February of 2025. So the changes are outlined here, and I will give a little information about each one as we move through the presentation. So the definitions, some of them are new. As you can see, some of them we just added or clarified language so that we made sure that what we're using as a definition matches with what the state is using as definitions. And one of the crucial ones to consider here is interior livable space, which has become a very important measure when looking at size, regulations and requirements, maximums and minimums for accessory dwelling units and junior accessory dwelling units. Before it was floor area ratio, but now they are specifically talking about only interior livable space counting towards the square footage. So, I mean, it's not likely to make a significant difference, but it could cause nominal increases in size because we have to not count boiler rooms, whatever they are, attics, basements, or garages. We further explain what roof pitch is, clarify that business day means a day that town hall is open to the public, and then clarify what same dimensions means. So there's no ambiguity when we say that, you know, something has the same dimensions as something before. The approval and appeal procedures, the code now clarifies very clearly that accessory dwelling units and junior accessory dwelling units are strictly ministerial approvals. They are permitted permitted by building permit, and not subject to other local variants or special use permit requirements. This is a new thing, the second bullet point. Before this addition to the code, we would have 60 days from application to determine it's complete and act on it. So now planning has to determine whether an application is complete within 15 business days. And during that time, we have to create a written notice of the determination and explain what needs to be corrected to become a complete application, or the application can be deemed, it would be deemed complete. Any resubmittal based on that notice of determination saying that, you know, they need to correct something, we again only have 15 days to review that. And we cannot add any new requirements based on, oops, we, you know, now that we see this, we should probably have added that. That is not allowed. And then once an ADU or I call them JDUs, junior accessory dwelling unit application has been deemed complete, there is then a 60-day period where we have to, staff has to decide if it's approved or denied. We have to provide that information to the applicant, or it's automatically approved. Another thing now is an applicant can appeal an incompleteness determination, or obviously a denial of the project within 15 calendar days of that determination or decision. The review body for appeals is the Planning Commission, and they would have to issue a written determination within 60 business days, or the decision is, and once that's made, the decision is final. Not a huge difference in size. The regular maximum minimums have remained the same this year, but like I mentioned, they're no longer based on floor area. They're based on interior livable space. The number of ADUs allowed is 1 internal accessory dwelling unit and a junior accessory dwelling unit. Both of those are attached or internal to a single family home. And then in addition, they can have a detached ADU. So someone could have basically 3 accessory dwelling unit types on their lot. A change is that owner occupancy can only be required if a junior accessory dwelling unit shares sanitation facilities with the existing structure. So if the junior accessory dwelling unit has its own bathroom, or if the owner of the principal building is another governmental agency, land trust, or housing organization, owner occupancy cannot be required. And the amendments are statutorily exempt from CEQA pursuant to guideline section 15282, which is a lovely exemption that is specifically for adopting an ordinance to implement state codes regarding second units. Very handy. Didn't have to look far for that one. And then so staff recommends that you hold a public hearing, consider all testimony, move to read by title only, and carry the motion. And as you can see there, and if it passes the first reading, the ordinance will be scheduled for adoption at the next meeting. And questions are very welcome. However, I will say that all the changes basically are to catch up with state code, and we don't have a whole lot of discretion. Not to sound negative. Love those state mandates.
Questions for staff?
Just a couple questions. Thank you for putting this together. I just want to confirm what you're saying is this is really the state of California has made a decision. We have to comply basically and change our rules to match what we're being required to by the state. I guess second question is anything else coming down the pike that we should kind of get a heads up on?
So
in terms of rule changes, because some of these are significant.
The answer to your first question is the town has to be as strict as the state. They could choose to be less restrictive if we wanted to. We cannot be more restrictive than state. In terms of things coming down the pike, that's always a risk with HCD. There could be issues around how the number of ADUs allowed on a property is configured, in which case we will be right back before you again. But at this point, we submit it to HCD after it's been the second reading and adopted, and they will come back with us if there are issues that they want to flag in our ADU ordinance, and we will have to address them at that time.
Thank you.
Right. This is kind of unusual in that it needs to be approved by HCP.
Yes.
All right. So I need some, well, I guess we have to, other questions? No? Okay, so public comment, anyone online?
Seeing none.
All right, so back to the council. I think I need one of you to make this very special kind of motion.
I would move that we read by title only in approving the motion. I need to say anything more specific.
Do you mind if I read the motion for you?
Yes, please.
Thank you. The motion is.
No, I'm going to keep guessing.
The motion is to introduce the ordinance, read by title only as follows: a Town of Tiburon Town Council ordinance for the repeal and replacement of chapter 16-52.100 of the Tiburon Municipal Code, regulating accessory dwelling units ADUs and junior accessory dwelling units JADUs, to waive further readings and to schedule for adoption at the next regular meeting of the council.
So moved. Isn't that what I said, though?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Fredericks is absent. Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Thier is absent. Vice Mayor Nick Farr.
Yes.
And Mayor Wellner.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, very good. So thank you for that. And then now we go to council and manager reports. Does the town manager have any reports?
I do not, Mr. Mayor.
Can I just give one update on RBRA? We have a budget approval process at our next meeting. There was a consideration, the state.
RBRA just is the Richardson Bay
Regional Agency. And so one of the things we do is we're tasked with removing boats from the eelgrass protection zone in the Richardson Bay, but also try to find housing for the displaced previous residents. And the state had a plan where they would give us money for housing, and then after a year, that they would transition to Section 8 housing vouchers, which are federal. But that program has been discontinued for now, or suspended. So in the future, RBRA is going to have to find another way to figure out how to house those people permanently. But as it turns out, there's no change considered for this year. And we have no more boats on the eelgrass protection zone. We only have 5 left in the whole anchorage, which is great.
5 left?
Yeah.
That's real progress.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Any report? No? Okay. So we are going to, I don't know what the right word is. We're not going to adjourn. We're going to move to closed session, and then we'll come back and report.
Maybe one heads up for our Tiburon residents is next month PG&E is coming to our meeting, I believe. And for anyone like myself who's been impacted by power outages, this is a good meeting for everyone to attend and let your voices be heard. And as we try to find solutions for what is I don't know where we're at, 4 times, 10 times, 20 times the nation's average of power outages in Tiburon. So hopefully we can start to resolve the crumbling infrastructure of our power grid.
Thank you. All right, I need to take public comment for the closed session. Is there anyone online who has a comment about our items for closed session?
Seeing none.
Okay. All right, so we're going to adjourn to closed session, and then we will return and report out.
making front page news.
All right, we are back in session and we have nothing to report. And now the meeting's adjourned.